In the land of myths and marble, a name echoed louder than any war cry. Hercules, born of Zeus, forged by trials, feared by monsters. But this story does not begin with glory. It begins with guilt. Cursed by madness sent by the goddess Hera, Hercules had done the unthinkable. A tragedy no strength could undo. To cleanse his soul, he came to the oracle, and her voice, like wind through the stone, offered him a path, a punishment, a redemption.
You will serve Eurystheus, the king. He will give you 12 labors, 12 impossible tasks. Complete them, and perhaps the gods will forgive you.
Hercules nods silently. He turns, the sun setting behind him as he walks away. And thus began the first step into legend. King Eurystheus ruled with all the grace of a scared rabbit in a lion's den, which, ironically, brings us to our story.
Hercules, the hero, the murderer, the repentant. Let's see what you're truly made of. Your first task, travel to Nemea. Beast lurks there, a lion so monstrous, so unnatural, that no man has returned. Its hide is untouched by sword or spear. Bring me proof of its death, or don't come back.
A long silence. Hercules simply nods. No words, no boast, only purpose. In that moment, even the king's voice faltered, because something in Hercules' silence spoke louder than thunder. Hercules turns and exits. The golden doors close behind him like fate. Once, laughter echoed through these hills. Children played in the fields. Fires warmed stories. Now, only silence remains.
Don't go into that forest. It'll eat you like it ate the rest. We offered meat, gold, prayers. Nothing stops it. It comes at dusk, always.
Hercules stops. He studies the man, not with pity, but with quiet understanding.
And you stayed?
Someone had to warn the next foe.
Others had fled. Others had fallen. But Hercules walked straight into the darkness. He steps beyond the last home, into the wild, into the trees, into the story the gods were watching. The deeper Hercules went, the quieter the world became. It was as if the forest itself held its breath. He crouches, brushing his fingers across a paw print, massive, sunken deep in the earth. And then, the growl, low, deep, ancient. Without warning, the lion charges from the shadows, its golden hide gleaming unnaturally, like polished bronze in moonlight. It moved like lightning, twice the size of any beast Hercules had ever faced. He swings his club. The blow lands with a thunderous crack, but the lion shrugs it off. No wound, no blood, no weakness. Hercules fires an arrow. It shatters. He draws a dagger. The blade snaps on contact. The lion roars, loud enough to shake the leaves from the trees. For the first time in years, Hercules knew fear. He stumbles back into a clearing, panting, eyes darting. Then he sees it, a dark hole in the cliffside, the lion's cave.
If weapons fail, I'll use my hands.
He drops the last of his gear and steps into the mouth of the cave. In the lion's den, there were no witnesses, no sunlight, only stone, blood, and silence. Suddenly, the lion lunges from the shadows. Hercules dives, rolls, grabs its mane. A violent struggle begins. Claws raked his arms. Fangs snapped inches from his face. But Hercules held on. He locks his arms around the beast's neck, the lion thrashes, smashing them into the walls. Hercules groans, muscles burning, but he doesn't let go. No blade could cut it. No armor could protect him. This was no duel. It was a storm. The lion roars again, louder, its final defiance, then stillness. The silence returned, but this time it was victory. A dawn breaks over the forest. The first light slips through the trees. From the cave, a figure emerges, bloodied, bruised, transformed. Hercules stepped into the morning not as a man, but as something more. Draped over his shoulder is the lion's golden pelt, shining with unnatural brilliance. The lion's head rests like a helmet, its mouth open above his own. In one hand, Hercules carries his club. In the other, proof that even the gods can be challenged. He had worn guilt. Now he wore triumph. Villagers gather. They stare in stunned silence. Some fall to their knees. Others weep. Back in the marble court of Tiryns, King Eurystheus lounges until the doors burst open. In walks Hercules, glowing in the golden lion's hide, silent as a storm. Eurystheus, brave in words, timid in soul, nearly fell off his throne. He shrieks and dives behind a giant bronze jar peeking out.
Very good. Yes, excellent. That's one. Just 11 more to go.
Hercules says nothing, just stands, watching. The first labor was complete, but it was more than a task. It was a transformation. Hercules turns and walks away, slow, steady. The lion's head stares back at the throne as the doors close. But peace would not come yet, for in the swamps of Lerna, something far worse had begun to stir. But Hercules' trials had only just begun. For deep in the swamps of Lerna, where sunlight dares not shine, a new terror awaits. A creature with venom in its breath, and more heads than death itself can claim. To cut off one is to summon two more, and even Hercules may not survive what cannot be killed. To be continued.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.